We're going across the country. We started at Fox Raceway in Southern California for Lucas Oil Pro Motocross in 2022, and then up to Northern California and Hangtown. And then the cross-country journey begins at Thunder Valley in Colorado, High Point in Pennsylvania. Last week we're at Redbud, right in the center of the country, and now we go all the way east to Southwick. That's right, one of the most famous tracks in all of motocross. And then the stretch run will begin. We'll go to Minnesota, Washington, Unadilla, New York, Budds Creek, Maryland, Ironman Raceway in Indiana, and finish it back off in Southern California. 12 rounds, and we have reached the center of that schedule. That is 6 races. Round 6 of the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship, the MB Southwick National. And this is going to be a good one. Jason Wygant, once again, joined by the greatest of all time, 15-time AMA National Champion Ricky Carmichael. Breaking news, you won a lot of races at Southwick. I know that shocks a lot of people. So what's this track all about, RC?
Oh, I mean, it brings out the best physically and on the bikes performance-wise. I mean, these bikes in the sand, they have more resistance, so the bike doesn't roll as much. They're riding at a higher RPMs. Engine temps are going to be elevated. And then we talk about physically for the riders. It gets extremely rough, and trying to muscle these 225, 230-pound machines around. Elevated heart rates for sure. Now, it's not overly hot today, like 83, 85. However, that's hot enough to get the blood pumping. There's no doubt about that. So the guys are going to be put to the test today.
Oh, yeah, and we have very, very close point standings in both classes. So let's talk about our 450 class first. Send it down to Will Christian with our 450 series leader.
Thank you, Jason. And yeah, the red plate holder right now, Chase Sexton. Chase, you come to this track competing against a guy who you know has had a ton of success here. How do you go up against that kind of experience to get this done today?
For me, just ride the best that I can. My sand riding's been really good for the last year or so, so I feel comfortable today. I had fun on the track. Obviously, I was 4th in the first practice, which isn't great, but I'm having fun, so that's all that matters. And I think if I can just go out there and ride like I know how, we'll give it our best shot. I know he's good here, but I think I have what it takes, so we'll give it our best effort.
Fight and talk. Thank you, Chase. Good luck out there. And consistency, guys, has been the key to Chase Sexton's season so far.
Well, he has finished first or second in every moto this year, except one where he's finished 4th. That's solid.
I was just looking at that. He is the only guy to be on the podium all 5 races. We're at round 6, and his back's against the wall today. Eli Tomac has an incredible track record here. There you can see that's the points from last weekend.
Yep. So you can see Tomac with the 2 moto wins, and he won the second moto of the previous race, so 3 moto wins and 2 overall wins in a row. Let's show you how Tomac did it last week at Redbud. Redbud, a pivotal showdown, not only a track that all the riders love in Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, but in addition, it's right in the center of the series, and the points are tightening as well. We had 4 different winners in the first 4 rounds coming into it, but it changes in a hurry when Eli Tomac gets a whole shot.
This guy's been firing on this new Monster Energy Yamaha Star racing machine. Hate to see Jason Anderson going down.
Yeah, when Tomac has a big lead, it's going to be hard for him to cough it up, but he almost does.
Yeah, he does. Almost doesn't count, though. This guy was on it.
That made it easy on him. Whole shot to checkers for Tomac. A little more interesting in moto number 2. Now, Tomac uses the same gate out of the middle. Looks like he's going to have his second whole shot, but Justin Barsha just puts it in front of him.
Yeah, perfect start by the number 51 of Justin Barsha. He grabs that inside line, is able to fade out, take Tomac's line away.
Little mistake by Barsha. Ken Roxon's into second and now into the lead with Tomac lurking in third. So Tomac has to get to work, and here he goes.
Well, he's going for it, and this guy will not be denied. Just absolutely on fire all day long.
More problems for Anderson. He goes down. He collects your series leader, Chase Sexton, with him. Sexton will get up and salvage it.
Sexton had some great rides from behind, just getting caught up in other people's misfortune like we just saw.
There is Tomac taking the measure of Roxon as we go in the second half of this race. Roxon would try to fight back, but Tomac just too strong. And then a big fade from the 94, and here comes Sexton.
Yeah, little did we know he was sick. He came out and told everyone what his problem was and why he was ailing. That's Ken Roxon there.
So Sexton would salvage a second after the crash with Anderson, but no catching Eli Tomac, who becomes your first 2-time winner in 2022. And that's 2 wins in a row. Don't look now, but the 3-time 450 national champ is catching fire. We'll see if Sexton can hold him off. Points are 7 in both classes, both our 250 class and in our 450 class. That's the gap between Hunter and Gent in the 250s and Chase Sexton and Eli Tomac in the 450 division. So Tomac is definitely closing the gap based on those 2 wins in a row. We've got a different type of racetrack today, and some other riders could get up there, including maybe a spoiler. Max Anstie's here today. Will, let's send it down to you and chat with the Englishman.
Thanks, Jason. Yes, a disappointing finish to last weekend for Max Anstie. They're not making it back out for Moto 2. They're looking strong in the first Moto and in the first round out here on the track this morning qualifying, Max. So what's the week been like preparing for that?
It's been busy. We hit it hard on Monday. We went straight back to work, and we ironed out a lot of the issues that we had last week. Unfortunately, we thought we had the bike fixed for Moto 2. Started her up to go down for first call, and there were some issues. And Marty, my team manager and crew chief and the guys over there were just like, look, let's not risk it. It is what it is. We went back to the drawing board this week and got some good work done. So I'm happy to be here. Felt good in the first practice. I knew from experience of watching this race that first lap of first practice is usually when the times come. So I'll be surprised if it goes any faster, but it'd be good. Got a good gate pick. We've ironed some things out with the bike. I'm looking forward to a good day.
We're hoping for a strong day in both motos for you today, Max. Good luck.
All right, Max Anstie. And I can tell you, I watched that first lap when the green flag flew. Those guys hammer immediately at Southwick. You have to.
Start is everything. Well, it's not everything, but it certainly helps. We say it again time and time, every single weekend. I know the viewers get tired of talking about it, but those are the facts, ladies and gentlemen.
This one, another one with a lot of history in this 50th anniversary tour. Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, first raced in 1976. It's kind of fitting for an area not too far outside of the tracks of the American Revolution. Let's get to our MX versus ATV Legends track map.
And this first corner narrows up really tight, so keep an eye on that first corner. Then they're going to come flying down this right-handed sweeper over a small little tabletop. Now, it's going to get really rough in the bottom of that hill. They're going to come to the top. It's kind of where the pits are in the background there. They don't have the semis there. Then they wind and weave through the trees. Gets extremely rough, but guys are going to be going inside, outside. Then they're going to pop back up over the hill to the other side, the far side of the track. I'd call the south end of the racetrack. Few more corners right here. Very similar to when I was racing back in the day. I personally like this left-hander, right-hander, and left-hander, S section, if you will. Inside, outside, keep your eye here, and then a huge, massive right-handed sweeping turns get very, very rough right there through the rollers. Got to keep your momentum up. And kind of like a hill, G's out through there. Then they come back. They'll come down this hill, and this is a really fast straightaway section. They're going to fly over this little single jump. Another left-handed sweeper. Very fast, but very rough. This gets a lot of accelerating bumps, braking bumps into the corner, up over a small little tabletop into a right-handed corner. And then here's your finish line at Southwick. Kind of drops down, fades out into another left-handed sweeping left-handed turn by the start. And just a brutal track. Only the strong survive here.
All season long, we're talking about the former champions of this series. These days, Cooper Webb is most known for 2 Monster Energy Supercross championships in the 450 class. But before that, his time at Yamaha in the 250s showed what was to come, as he established a reputation as one of the most mentally tough riders in the sport. A native of North Carolina, Cooper Webb is known these days more for 2 Premier Class championships in Monster Energy Supercross. However, it was not long ago when a gritty Webb was fashioning a dominating run in 250 Motocross. Feeling overlooked and underappreciated as an amateur, Webb had to scramble for opportunities early in his career. Star Yamaha principal owner Bobby Regan saw something in the kid from the Tar Heel State. What he saw was grit. And soon Star Racing began dominating the small bore class, with Cooper fitting right in, battling teammate Jeremy Martin for 250 supremacy. Then Webb had his turn in 2016. He entered the year with a broken wrist, persevered early, and when he healed up, he started winning. 10 podiums and 4 overall wins paved the way to his first Pro Motocross title, and he won 3 races in a row at his home track in Tennessee, and then Redbud right here in Southwick to take over the championship lead. And then when the Motocross World Championship came to his home state in Charlotte that year, Webb put on a clinic, coming from behind to steal the overall victory from world champion Jeffrey Herlings. Cooper has taken the summer off from motocross racing. We can only hope to see him return to this outdoor championship, showcasing his gritty style and never say die attitude that will help him compete for 450 titles in the future. Start practice underway here for qualifying. 450s goes first today, by the way. Joey Savatgy had a moment a couple of minutes ago here.
He did. What happens is you're going to see on the left-hand side of your screen, here he comes coming up. Watch right there. He's going to go down. As he lets off the gas, the front end starts to dive. The weight transfers from the rear to the front of the motorcycle. Front end starts to go back and forth. Boom. Hits the side of the track. Luckily, it is soft. I'm sure he is okay. He appears to be okay. And what an incredible ride Joey had last week. I mean, I go back to coming back from an ACL repair on a new machine. Yes, he has ridden for Monster Energy Kawasaki in years past. However, pretty incredible what Joey's been able to do this season.
Yeah, put it on the podium in the first moto last week, and that was straight up. Ken Roxon, for example, was behind him, couldn't catch him. So maybe leaving a little early to deliver a podium for Joey, who couldn't even race round one of the series.
Yeah, well, think about that. So it's a 4-month injury, and 2 months of it, I've experienced this not once but twice, had both my ACLs repaired. And you are virtually not able, depending on the severity of your ACL, and if there's other damage with meniscus and cartilage and all that fun stuff, you can't really get into the cardio stuff till about 2 months in. Now, that is an eternity in Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship when you're not able to work out and train and keep that cardio up. So he started to build back up. So it's not like those 4 months off, he was completely grinding. So that's what I'm saying. It's remarkable what he's been able to do. Come back, like I said, on a new motorcycle when he's racing guys that are mid-season form.
I like having the excuse. I didn't have to go for a jog this morning like you. I got a nice built-in excuse right now. I'm riding that 2-month mark for all it's worth on the ACL recovery, but you were out grinding this morning.
Yeah, I was. It was good for the mind, man. Good for the mind. I was up early, knocked out almost 5.5 miles, and that was great. It was a little cool out there, so didn't sweat too much. It was almost like a recovery run.
All right, those 2 ACL repairs you had obviously are working pretty well.
Well, it's not recommended by my doctor to go out there and run, but it just is the best use of my time.
Okay, old habits die
hard.
Yeah.
They do.
Here is Eli Tomac. We've talked about how fast he is at this track. This is really the heart of the season for him. He's so good. Redbud here, Millville, Washougal coming up, so he's going to be putting pressure on these guys. And we're going to talk about the tire, I think, that we use at Southwick, a little different. Although, I got to say, you're starting to see the scoop tire at more of the other tracks as well.
Well, and the reason I believe that is, Jason, is because a lot of these tracks are bringing in sand, trying to implement more sand, get the tracks a little bit softer, and it's all for the start. There you go. It takes out big scoops of dirt rather than a less aggressive tire. You can see right there. He took off.
They tried.
Did he not know I was doing a feature on the Dunlop scoop tire? I mean, come on, Eli. No.
And our man's shoe must have got a blast.
Yeah, our camera guy, man, he's just blasted himself. He's been at this for a long time, one of the best in the business, and that was a rookie mistake by our man, but getting the shots, now he's going to have sand down his back all day long before the races even start.
He does. Shoot.
Well, look at this track right here, everybody. I mean, it is quickly starting to get rough. Take a look at it now and get a visual on it now. When we get back to these second motos, it is going to be so much rougher. And these guys are incredible athletes. Very hard to muscle these bikes around because of the sand. You know, there he is.
Not worse for wear.
Yeah, look at him. This guy's been at it for a long time. He's one of the best guys in the business. Love seeing him at all the races, and he knows what he's doing, that's for sure.
Yep, we just did not know Eli was going to unleash that Yamaha. By the way, that's a new tire, the MX-14. They started developing the race tire a year ago at this race, and now it's available to all the riders in production form. So they think they've got improved performance on that rear Dunlop scoop this season. You watch Aaron Plessinger. And as Anstie said in an interview there, he knew, and all the riders knew, the very first lap of practice at this track was probably going to be the fastest. And they were all pedal to the metal.
Yeah,
Track's only going to get slower.
Yeah, well, you can see right now at the bottom of the hills, we call them G-outs. And that's where you're kind of like on a roller coaster. Jason, like we were talking about, when you go to the bottom of the hill and you like compress into the seat, this is what these bikes do. When they come down on the bottom of the hill, the bike compresses, max load, max force, G out is, like I said, what we call them. Gets very, very rough there. Your suspension is completely used up.
Load on the body there too?
Yeah, a lot of load on the body, just like a roller coaster.
So it's going to be slower this session. Is that almost
guarantee? I would think so, just because it's rough. Now, the only positive about it and why maybe they could still turn a good lap is because the lines are worked in. Sometimes early on in the practice, the laps or the track isn't completely worked in, so the lines haven't completely formed up. We're about to find out.
Aaron Plessinger getting out front here on the Red Bull KTM. Wants clean racetrack, and he's got it. The time to beat is going to be Eli Tomac's 2:02.7. No, that's my bad. That's actually last week. Go ahead.
These guys absolutely send it for these qualifying laps. I mean, they're riding over the limit for the most part, taking chances, and they don't do too many of them, but they want to get that #1 gate pick for these motos. Will?
Ricky, I spoke to Aaron Plessinger earlier, and he was receiving the news of where he came in the first qualifying session. He was looking at the piece of paper, and that came through with him at 23rd. And he was like, didn't seem too worried. You know Aaron, he's pretty laid back. He said, I'm never really good at the first qualifier. So he's got some work to do here in the second one. Injury-wise, health-wise for Aaron, we know he's been plagued for a while here. I spoke to him about his foot to see how that was doing, that original heel injury where he broke his heel back in 2019. He has a plate in there. That then essentially led to him twisting his ankle at High Point just a couple of rounds ago. And he said it's doing pretty good. He said for the most part, he's just kind of got to let it heal, but he does have to deal with it when he's on the bike. So he's definitely got his work cut out for him. Ricky and Jason here, he's got to improve on that 23. Like you said, gate pick going to be really important for him so he doesn't get caught up with everyone.
Aaron's not usually a qualifying master, but when he's 13th, he's happy. 23rd, that's probably a little too far back.
Yeah, that's way far back. And you could see the Dunge, #5, he just blows by his teammate. Absolutely going for it right now. He rode well at Redbud. And for him and Christian Craig for that, they both went 6.5 in motos. And they were 7th and 8th place overall. They got absolutely ruined by that one pass that Jason Anderson made the last lap getting by Ryan Dungey. Basically took Dungey and Craig from 4th to 5th to 7th and 8th overall. So crazy how the points work out. But Dungey absolutely going for it right now. Love the aggression. He's going to want to run up front and contend for podiums. He's going to have to get out of that comfort zone, which is extremely hard to do. But if anyone can do it, Ryan Dungey's the guy.
Yeah, fans definitely hoping that they're there that day he gets that podium. It's definitely in play. He's been close a couple times this year. Other riders we watch, that's Jason Anderson going by. He needs a little rebound after some tough luck there at Redbud and losing a bunch of points in the series. That's why we're talking so much about Tomac and Sexton. Roxon and Anderson were in it early.
Yeah.
They need to make up ground in a hurry.
Yeah, we're getting to the point, we're getting this part of the series where it's go time. I feel like Eli Tomac and Chase Sexton have certainly established themselves as the front runners. Their points reflect that as well. They've been the most consistent guys that showed the most speed consistently. And, to Eli's point, we heard the little soundbite, is he talks about who's going to be the first guy to crack or flinch. Mm-hmm. And really and he's exactly right. You think about Eli, he knows how well Chase Sexton's been this year, being very, very consistent. He's waiting for Chase to make a mistake. However, I don't think that he can count on that. Chase has made huge gains. Oh,
Tomac makes a mistake.
Down he goes. That berm was just pushed away.
No, it's Craig,
that's
actually.
Craig.
Yep.
That's Christian Craig. He comes around that corner. What happened is he coming around with so much speed, and the top of the berm had given away by probably a couple of riders in front of him. And as he leaned the bike over, he just had nothing to lean against.
Hard to tell from the drone which Yamaha we're looking at. Go ahead.
And motocross lingo, we call it, the berm was blown out.
Okay.
So what he needed to do there to save that crash, which would have helped him, was to roll out of the throttle a little bit early and get to the lower part of the berm.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the tricky things, right? He probably was in the exact line that might have worked a lap ago.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, bye-bye. It's gone.
That's right.
There's Brandon Hartraff coming through. Craig's okay, obviously. That wasn't a hard crash back up on the track. Dungey's actually got the fastest time right now. They're chasing the 209 flat that Dungey's chasing the 209 flat that Tomac had in the first session. But Dungey is fastest on track right now with a 2:10.3.
Yeah, he took off quick. You could see Eli Tomac, he was rolling out. Anderson was taking his sweet time at the beginning of this practice. The track has changed tremendously from first practice until now. Much rougher, much more realistic to what the race is going to be like. Race conditions.
Anstie, you just saw him there on that Firepower Honda, the 34. 7th quickest on track right now. But Anstie is a world-class sand rider with all his time in Europe and the World Motocross Championship. Had some bike problems in his race here last year, and that's the only time he's come to this track. So he feels like he has results in store, but doesn't really know until the day's over.
You know, a lot of people talk about, why is Southwick so hard? And for someone who has maybe never raced a motorcycle, imagine walking on the beach and the sand is really thick, right? And it kind of holds you down, bogs you down, weighs you down, takes a lot of resistance to walk through there. And then imagine walking hard-packed red clay or concrete for that matter. That's why this place is so hard for the riders physically. It's hard to maneuver the bike. That's why it's so hard for the motorcycle. You know how hard it is to walk in sand as opposed to red clay. Well, same for the motorcycle. There's so much resistance. A lot of engine heat gets built up. So the motorcycles are doing overtime today because of that resistance as well as physically for the riders.
Ooh, Alex Martin off the track there, hopped over that berm. We had some news this week. Alex has decided to call it a career at the end of this 2022 season. They just announced it yesterday. And we had a chance to talk to the veteran of 26 about why he made that decision.
Coming into the season, I wanted to at least try one 450 season. I've been a 250 guy most of my career, 13 years in fact, and I got to say, like after, I've been enjoying this season a lot with Club MX FXR muck-off team, but I'm like, I think I made the right call for being a 250 guy. Just with my stature, I'm only 5'4", 140 pounds, and yeah, definitely, I've taken some hits this year, and it's been a long year. It's 14 years at the top level of the sport, and that doesn't come without some, there's been a lot of positives and negatives, ups and downs, but all in all, kind of looking back, I feel like I've reflected a lot this year, kind of knowing that it was going to be my last year, and I would say a couple rounds into outdoors is when I kind of was like, you know what, I've been grinding for a long time, and I feel like I'm ready to kind of take the next step in my life and in my career, I guess, and so we decided this week, I guess, to say it's going to be my last season at the end of the 2022 season.
And that's a nice strategic move to announce it now, Alex and his muck-off FXR Club MX Yamaha team, because now when we go to his home track next weekend at Millville, everyone will know it's the last dance for Alex Martin at his home track. I think we'll have his brother Jeremy hanging out with us, helping out the TV show as well, so that's going to be cool to have the Martin brothers back in it. So that, the crowd's going to be going nuts for A-Mart next week.
Well, I'm happy for Alex Martin, and what I love is he's had a great career, and he's content with what he's accomplished. And I think for him mentally, moving forward and making the next step in his life and his career, like you talked about, that's important. I think if you're not content mentally with what you've accomplished, you're not happy with what you've accomplished, that's when you kind of run into problems. Listen, this is my opinion, but it sounds like he's happy and he is at peace with what he's done. So he's had an incredible career. Not a lot of people will achieve what he's achieved, so he should be proud of himself.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is he decided, I just want to see what it's like on a 450. So he didn't have to look back 10 years from now and wonder. So that was a nice move. It's been a little rough, as he said, Supercross and Motocross. But he checks that box as we go back to Tomac here. And Sexton just edging ahead of Dungey's time. So Sexton has the best time in this session. Let's see what Eli can throw down.
Yeah, well, Eli's going for it right now, but it's going to be tough because it is getting rough, very rough coming into the corners, coming out of the corners. You got some lappers in front of you. Hard to move around here. That's what I'm saying. It's hard to move around in the sand compared to the harder pack. What you seeing from down there, Will?
Brennan Haas, team manager there for Alex Martin, with me right now, guys. We just had the news this week that Alex was this would be his last pro motocross season, Brandon. You've talked to me so much in the past about what a good guy Alex is, what a fantastic rider he is, what an incredible ambassador for the sport. So just tell us a little bit about who he is as a person, how much you guys are going to miss him.
We're going to miss him deeply. I mean, I was fortunate and humbled enough to get to see him in the beginning with him and Nicoletti sharing bikes and living in campers and the whole experience of 2010 to 13, and to take the career he started with and turn it into what he did. Like, he maybe didn't win a championship, but we treat him like a champion, and we're going to do everything we can to see if we can get him back for outdoors next year. We're not going to give up on him easy, but no, the next chapter of his life will be good.
He's very lucky to have your support, Brandon. Thanks ever so much. Enjoy the rest of your time with him this season.
Thanks, Will. We were watching Tomac here thinking that the hot time might come in, but it didn't happen.
Look how tight it is. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, all running 2:10s. Only 0.7 of a second separating these guys. That is impressive.
Wow.
This is going to be so much fun later on come race time. And I tell you why. What I love about this racetrack is it puts all of these guys to the test physically. Which one of these guys are in the best shape? Which one of those guys aren't going to surrender because their body is put to the max physically? And I just love these. I just absolutely love it, getting the best out of these athletes.
Yeah, look, I know you were super fit in your day, maybe the fittest guy on the track, but is there a point where no matter how fit you are, you just got to suffer?
100%. You have to suffer. Oh, got a little too high there in the corner. But yeah, I mean, if you're not pushing that limit, riding that fine line, then I'd say you're not going to get tired. But if you're pushing that limit, no matter how good of shape you're in, you're still going to feel it. There's no doubt about it.
So it's getting really, digging deep is going to be a factor here.
Digging deep, absolutely, especially if you're not the fastest guy and you don't have a speed buffer in between yourself and the guy running second, or if you're running third and the guy behind you is catching you. Super tough. Really hard to do physically. Imagine running down the road and you have nothing more to give, and like you're being chased by a dog or something, and you can't let up. You just got to go. That's what it's like.
That's good. Chase Sexton looking good in this session despite the tip over. Let's send it back to Will with his team manager.
Yeah, we just had a shot of Lars Lindstrom, their team manager, earlier watching the racing. Lars, you're watching Chase out there right now. What do you say to him? We know the battle that he has against him there with Eli Tomac. What are the words you give him when he doesn't quite have the experience, but we know he has the consistency and we know he has the speed? So what's the advice?
I think the advice right now is that, you know, Eli obviously has, he's a seasoned veteran. He's coming on strong right now. We know that. So right now we're trying to make sure we're doing everything we can to, you know, bring the fight to him. I think Chase has the strength and the speed to be able to beat him straight up. So as long as we get some starts, which we didn't have last week, we're going to be able to fight him. And I think we just need to make sure, even at the end of the race, that we show them that we're strong and we're not going to give up.
And just talk to me a little bit more about those starts. Was there anything in particular that was lacking for Chase last week? And is there anything that you guys have been working on during the week?
Obviously, the starts were lacking. I mean, they weren't even that bad, but Eli, when he gets a whole shot, we need to be with him. And then also, I guess, you know, getting through the pack a little bit quicker, which is tough to do because there's really quick guys, especially in the first half of the race.
Thanks so much, Lars. Best of luck today.
Lars is exactly right. Each moment right now between Eli Tomac and Chase Sexton is pivotal. And I love what Lars says. Lars says that he needs to be here at the end, regardless of how much experience and the veteran rider that Eli Tomac is. They need to show Eli that he is there and he is strong, he has the speed, and he has the strength. And I couldn't agree with Lars more because of that. Eli, I mean, I think he has a tremendous amount of respect for his competitors. But at the end of the day, if Chase is able to go and match what Eli is doing, it's going to be tough for Eli. You know, it's going to be like, man, I thought I would probably wear him down, but I wasn't. Not to say he's sleeping on Chase Sexton's skills, but it might be lingering in the background.
Well, yeah, there's so much chatter coming into this race about how strong Tomac has been in this track in the past, how well he's riding the last couple weeks. Sexton doesn't have that kind of record there. It almost seems like the narrative is already out there that this is Eli's weekend. So if you're Sexton, you want to say, no, I'm not handing you this.
And that's even more importantly, to your point, Jason, is that's why Chase needs to rise to the occasion. And this is what champions do. You know, Chase doesn't have a whole lot of history and stats in the 450, so we can't really run off it, but he is He is, there you go. There's Bobby Reagan, team owner of Monster Energy, Yamaha Star Racing. Guy's one of the best recruiters in the nation, right?
Yeah. College football.
Great guy.
style.
Loves racing. Saw him on the airplane ride up to Redbud last weekend, and he was watching times during the Combine race, the first Moto Combine. Oh, he was glued to it.
The amateurs.
He loves it. But going back to Chase, yes, he doesn't have the support, the stats to support what we're saying, but we owe him that right to assume he is the contender, and he has a good chance at winning this championship because he's risen to the occasion.
Oh, yeah. The knock on Sexton on the 450 the last 2 years has been the consistency, and besides that one little tip over at Thunder Valley, he's really proven he can be consistent.
That's right.
So he's trying to change that story. It's going to be really interesting, that tangle. But we have other contenders, because look who's snuck in, not the fastest overall, but the fastest in this session. Jason Anderson, late in the session, is your fastest rider on track right now. Tomac's time from the first session is top overall.
The 50th anniversary season of Pro Motocross is brought to you by Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive. General Tire. For whatever you do, General Tire delivers. And by Honda, celebrating 50 years of off-road dominance.
We are back. So Eli Tomac, your fastest qualifier today. That's not a surprise, but he was only fifth in this second session when the track was a little bit rougher. The order right now on track was Anderson, Sexton, Roxon, Dungey, and then Tomac fifth. But the 2:09.0 from the first session for Tomac holds up. He's the fastest overall. We'll see how he's feeling in the sand as we'll send it down to the podium with Will.
Thank you, Jason. Eli here with me now. Congratulations. Taking that on the first qualifier of the day. Jason Weigand was just saying, fifth there in the second one, Eli. Not necessarily what you were hoping for there, but you have so much experience at this track. Talk to us about how it's going to shape up and how you're prepared for that.
Yeah, it played per usual today, and first one was fastest just because of how gnarly this track gets in the sand and the rollers and the bumps, everything. So treated that one a little more like a test session. Obviously, I'm going hard, I'm going fast, but first one's the one you have to get it done here, that's for sure. So excited about that. It's going to give me a great position, and I can't wait to go race in that sand.
Thanks so much. We'll see you out there. All strategy there, guys, for today from Eli Tomac.
All right, that's some good insight. We appreciate that from the number 3. Experimenting with some bike changes to be ready for the motos. And, yeah, he loves this type of terrain, so you know he's looking forward to it. We'll give you the television schedule today so you can see how you can see the races. Our first moto today will actually be live on NBC. That's our final NBC race of the year. That'll be at 1:30, 30-minute delay of what we normally have. So 1:30, that's 450 Moto 1, first race of the day. Then 250 Moto 1 right after it, all the way through the end of the day on MAV TV. And don't forget our Inside Pro Motocross show, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Well, Southwick is the only full sand track on this schedule, and it is known by all the riders as one of the most challenging tracks on the schedule.
Ooh, the most challenging part of racing Southwick, I would say, is probably like the last 10 minutes of the second moto. When your tongue is just in your spokes, you have no more to give, and yet you have to continue to give. And that's one of the amazingly brutal things about outdoors, and reasons why I think people show up, because, man, those last 10 minutes, I don't care how fit you are, it's tough, and there is some pain involved.
Most challenging part at Southwick would obviously be the deep sand. It's the one race a year where you're dealing with those conditions. We deal with either hot weather or it rains there. So very challenging mentally and physically. I'd say the biggest thing is physically, just because of how much it wears your body down. So Southwick is one of those races you circle on the list and you make sure you're ready for it.
I'd say it takes a lot of roll speed, just got to carry momentum everywhere possible. It's just so sandy and deep, you could bury your corner and lose a couple seconds. So yeah, it's crucial just to stay on top of the sand and just flow, and yeah, like I say, carry momentum.
The most challenging part of Southwick is just making it through the moto period, and it wears on you. It wears on your body, so you gotta be fit and you gotta be ready for that one.
Oh, yeah. Fit, strong. This track is tough, man. Brutal. Half of it conserving energy in practice as well. You don't want to go blow yourself out in practice. Every little bit counts.
Just learned something right there.
There you go.
Okay, I like it. Hey, we're celebrating all of the past champions of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. And in the history of not just motocross, but any motorsport, there might not be a rider or driver better suited to the nickname than Bob Hurricane Hanna, one of motocross racing's first superstars, an inspiration to a generation, and to this day, one of this sport's most respected champions.
The first thing you have to know about Bob Hanna is that he hated to lose. The second thing you need to know is that his seemingly out-of-control, feet-off-the-peg style fit perfectly with his outspoken personality. And if you ask any motocross historian, Bob Hanna's name comes up as one of the all-time greatest riders to ever swing a leg over a dirt bike. In this series on legends, Hanna is the legend. The Hurricane was at the forefront as American riders started to overtake their European counterparts as the leaders of the sport. Hanna burst onto the scene in 1976, taking his first AMA National Championship in the 125 class. And that title would launch a run that saw him dominate the end of the 70s, including 2 250 National Championships and 3 consecutive Supercross titles from 1977 to 1979. And for good measure, Hanna became the first American to win the Trans-AMA 500cc championship, ending Roger DeCoster's 4-year stranglehold on the title in 1978. Hanna's 1977 season was one the likes will never be seen again, as he captured victories in all 3 AMA motocross classes, on 125s, 250s, and 500s. But somehow, Hanna was even bigger than the huge numbers he generated. His personality, his will to win, his aggressiveness, and his epic battles loomed even larger as an influencer over the early days of the sport. At the end of the 70s, there was little question that Bob Hanna was the dominant rider in America and perhaps the world. However, a devastating accident water skiing in 1980 would lead to injuries that would prevent him from winning further titles. But Hanna kept charging, winning races all the way through the mid-1980s. When the track was rough and conditions were tough, no one was faster than the Hurricane. And when he retired, he stood as the all-time leader in combined AMA wins. Hanna is a 1999 member of the AMA Hall of Fame and a year 2000 inductee into the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America.
Right up there with the best that's ever done it, and one of the greatest personalities this sport has ever had, Bob Hanna. Congrats to him as we celebrate 50 years of history in motocross. We made some history last weekend. Joe Shimoda got his first win ever. Let's send it down to Will with last week's winner.
Wasn't it fantastic to watch guys there last weekend? The crowd at Redbud, Joe, was so behind you. You've obviously had a good week, back to business, I know, for you, and then you get to arrive here at Southwick, the site of your first ever podium, second here last year. So how good is that? You got the momentum from last weekend, add on top of that a track that you like. Where's the confidence at?
Yeah, confidence definitely better after last weekend, how it went, and yeah, just again, like trying to do my best each session and, you know, focus on myself. So let's see what happens.
Talk to me about the track. You did well. You were 4th there in the first qualifier out. How much experience do you have here, and what are you expecting out of it here as we move through the day?
I mean, for sure, I want to be on the top, but at the same time, the competition is just super hard. So, yeah, just focus on those small things to make it into the one piece. So, yeah. Let's see.
You put it all together last weekend, Joe. Good luck this weekend doing that again.
Well, his first win last weekend at Redbud, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship, and love what he's all about. He never gives up, and I think he's going to be up front again here today.
Did you hear Jet Lawrence there ribbit him?
Oh,
Those guys are always going at it with each other.
Always messing. Always messing around.
Let's show you how Joe got the win last weekend. We'll show you the highlights from round 5. Redbud is a favorite of everybody in this series, whether you're a spectator or a rider, a mechanic, media members, it doesn't matter. This is how you celebrate motocross in America on July 4th weekend. Huge crowd on hand and perfect weather conditions as well, and a little bit of drama to shake things up. So there's Jet Lawrence leading the series standings. He's won every race coming into Redbud. And he's going to get a pretty good start here as well, battling it out with his brother Hunter. They have been on top of the series so far, so everything seems pretty normal, at least early.
Yeah, it was close. Look at Joe Shimoda getting up in the inside. Ryder DeFrancisco, he goes down, got a great start from the inside.
Here's Jet sneaking by his brother Hunter, trying to make the pass. Hunter's able to hold him off. Then Jet's going to try again. Great battling between the brothers, picking up where they left off at high points. So fun to watch.
Well, really a close battle between all three, Hunter, Jet, and Joe Shimoda. And eventually there, Jet goes right up the inside, makes a pass on his brother.
And then he's looking down. He sees Shimoda close in third. He's realizing something is wrong with the bike. See the puffs of smoke? And then just like that, his engine is done.
Yeah, I mean, it just says good night. And that's going to be very costly to Jet Lawrence. He's had a superb MX season thus far.
And just like that, he's not only going to lose the lead of this race, but he's going to lose the lead in the point standings because his brother Hunter is out front now. But Shimoda, as you mentioned, on the gas.
Well, this is a fantastic story to all these little aspiring pro motocross champions watching. This is a perfect example of never giving up. Joe stuck with it, stuck with it, stuck with it. Got a little help from Jet's bike braking, but he put the pressure to Hunter. Lawrence was able to make the pass and eventually get the win.
And then Hunter had to back it down because he felt like his engine was going sour as well. It all equals a first ever Moto win as a professional for Joe Shimoda, the Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki. So will we now have a non-Lawrence brother overall win for the first time this year? Well, they've got good starts again, and now Jet, by the way, has to start way toward the outside because of the bad finish, but he sneaks through about top 10, and Ryder D this time locks it down.
Yeah, he does. He closes the door on Hunter Lawrence on the inside.
Also got his teammate Seth Hamaker right there with him, and then a big dust up early. Watch who's caught in it. The 30 of Shimoda. This is lap one. He's way back.
You got RJ Hampshire in there, Justin Cooper as well, getting caught up. Hated to see this for Joe having such a spectacular first moto.
So at that point, you're figuring any chance of the overall win is gone, probably the overall podium even. And then here's Hunter going to work on the surprise early race leader, Privateer Ty Masterpool.
Ty was riding extremely well early on, I'd say for over half of the race. And that just shows you how important starts are. I know we talk about it every single week, and you got to get the start. Well, look what happens when you get the start. Not to say he wasn't riding well, but it's a fantastic run for Ty Masterpool.
And then eventually Jet would overcome the bad gate pick. Like I said, started just inside the top 10. He picks off his brother for the lead. It's actually not such a good moto for Hunter because he could not stay with his brother, even though he has been able to do it on other races this year. Jet trying to minimize the damage of the points. And then out of nowhere, Shimoda's back on the scene.
Yep, he's coming out. I mean, he made up a lot of ground. You saw when he went down on the first lap, he was picking guys off right and left. There he goes, getting by the number 59 of Levi Kitchen. Kitchen very talented on the motorcycle as well. He can do great things. Keep your eye out on him.
But Shimoda, by climbing all the way up to third, is going to win the overall. Here's Jet salvaging the day with a second moto win. Hunter finishes second. He has 2-2 scores, but a 1-3 beats that. And that means Shimoda with an epic comeback from outside the top 30 to third in Moto 2 is an overall winner for the first time. He didn't even know when he crossed the checkered flag. And he had I Heart USA written on his stomach as well. So these fans support that effort. And also shout out to Styles Robertson, third overall on the day. And Joe wants to keep it going. More for us, the positive vibes on the butt patch. I had a theory. You probably experienced this a time or two. They have pizza party usually at Pro Circuit when a guy gets a win.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
The next day later, or on Monday at the shop, Mitch will order everyone from the race team free pizza. So, yep, got some free pizza at that Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki team. Just an incredible ride for Joe. I just loved how he never gave up. Got a little help from Jet's bike braking, but nevertheless, he was at the right place at the right time. Most importantly, he took advantage of the opportunity.
He did, and Hunter Lawrence only went 2-2. He did take over the points lead, but he wants more this week, and this could be a good track for him. He did win this race last year. We'll see how it turns out.
The 50th anniversary season of Pro Motocross is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance. Motosport.com. Make your next ride your best ride. And by Monster Energy. Unleash the beast.
So Jason Wygant and the greatest of all time, Ricky Carmichael here. Let's talk 250s at Southwick. a couple different ways to slice this. Hunter Lawrence takes the points lead, but he admitted he was not happy with his riding last week. Jet beat him by a long shot in the second moto. But Hunter won this race last year, so this can go a variety of ways.
Well, it can. I think it's an opportunity for both Jet and Hunter here at Southwick. If you're Hunter, you're coming off a win last year, so you have a little extra motivation, a little extra confidence. However, if you're Jet Lawrence, you're fired up about the loss of points last year from the bike malfunction. So you got that going. Now, if you're Hunter or Jeff, now is a great time to use guys like Joe Shimoda to get in there and separate each other. So if you're Hunter and Joe Shimoda's in front of you, you want to get by him to put someone in between him and his brother. Now, if you're Jet, same type situation. You want to get someone in between you and your brother Hunter. So an opportunity for both. Nevertheless, it's exciting. Puts a little pressure on Jet. Jet's got to go out there, start winning, and try to build up that points gap. But this is a great opportunity for Hunter to maintain that points lead.
Yeah, so they want to get some talent in between them. And where does all this talent come from? Well, there was a new concept that started last year, the Scouting Moto Combine. We held the first 2022 edition of that for amateurs last week at Redbud.
All right, we're here at Redbud at the MX Sports Moto Scouting Combine presented by U.S. Air Force. It's not like the amateur races where you get to, you do a moto and then maybe 2 hours later, 3 hours later, you do your next one. You do your moto here, you literally have 45 minutes to eat, prep, get ready, get your body recovered, get hydrated.
They're elite kids, and whether they're on the factory teams or not, you got 24 kids that are really amongst the very best amateurs in the country. So genuinely, I think all the teams were loaded with a lot of talent. And so it's a little more even. Although Hayden Deegan kind of beat up on everybody a little bit and, made it not so even. But that's racing.
There's a lot of hype on Hayden Deegan, the son of Brian Deegan, former racer out here and an X Games medalist and has done a ton in motorsports. That was not hype last weekend. That was legit speed and results for Hayden.
Yeah, he was certainly going for it. And, if you're Hayden Deegan, I mean, he's surrounded by great guys like Justin Cooper, Christian Craig, the whole Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing crew being able to ride at their facility. So that is a massive help. There's no doubt about that. But those other guys in that field, they had a lot to learn as well. A great opportunity for all the riders involved in the Combine, learning from legends like Chad Reed, Michael Byrne, Brock Glover for that matter. I mean, it's a great opportunity, something that they will learn from and be able to take with them as they jump to Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship. A lot of those guys going next year. So I think it's a fantastic idea for the sport in general. Anytime you can learn from some of the greats and be able to use that to your benefit, and also from a safety standpoint, huge. I'm all for it.
Yeah, and cool for the fans to get a chance to see these kids that they generally hear about, to have them race the same weekend as the pros. We'll have more of that at Indiana, the Ironman National, and then the final round of the season at Fox Raceway. We'll have 2 more Moto Scouting Combine. So if you're planning on going to those races, make sure you're there on Friday afternoon to watch the kids battle it out as we get ready for our final qualifying session in the 250 division. There is Shimoda, last week's winner, and we saw in the 450s that the track was a little bit quicker in the first session. Not as big a gap as I expected, only about a half second, but the time they're shooting for in that first session, it might be tough to knock that off.
Yeah, track gets so much rougher. I think at this point, it's going to be really hard to beat what they turned in their first practice session, for sure.
So Shimoda rolling, a couple other guys to talk about. By the way, how jarring is it to see that black #1 background on Jet's bike? It's been red all year.
Yeah, it has, and it's funny to see that. I personally like the black background a little bit better than the red background on the Honda per se, but gonna be interesting, man. If you're, like I said, if you're Hunter Lawrence, you have to have some more confidence. Even though you didn't ride great last weekend, while you still got the red plate, you still have to have confidence. It's nice coming to racetracks, knowing that you have a great chance to win, and coming off a win here the previous year. Will?
Ricky, Jason, I just want to share a funny little story there that I heard down on the start line from Hunter Lawrence. You were talking there about the black background there on Jet Lawrence's plate. Well, Hunter said they were looking at their gear that they'd be wearing for this weekend, and Jet was clearly stoked on how his looked. He was happy with it, and he said, you know, asked Hunter what he thought. Hunter turned around and said, yeah, it goes really nicely with that black background there on the plate. So taking a good jab at him there. I mean, these guys, you know these brothers, how well they get on there, so it's all in jest, no doubt, but they're entertaining, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's another thing, and Shimoda's part of that too. They're ribbing each other nonstop, even though they're fighting for a very serious championship, and here's where it all came undone for Jet.
Yeah, you can see he's pointing down, blue smoke coming out of the overflow tube on the bottom, out of the exhaust. Certainly don't want to see that happening.
He kept his composure, though. I would assume he may have been in that situation to bounce back in Moto 2, shrug that off.
And it's never fun. You know, I can tell you this much, is we rely on the motorcycles, and we let the team down more often than the machine lets us down.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I hate to see that for anybody, but these are motorcycles, and anything can happen. There's a lot of moving parts in those engines, as we know, and things happen.
Looks like qualifying's underway. This is what Jet usually does. He lets most of the field go and then wait till he has open racetrack. He was the fastest in the first session with a 2:09.1. And look who's left. The top two riders in the series. Letting everybody go and getting some clean real estate. There goes Jet. Hunter's still there on the 96. Fun to watch him dissect this track. We talk about it all the time with Jet. You would think he's 18 years old. He's just reckless, wide open, but he's pretty smart out there. Watching him hop his way around this track in the first session, you'll see it here in session 2. It's pretty fun. Hunter is waiting his sweet time.
Very creative riders. This whole generation is very creative on the motorcycles and on the tracks, what they're able to do, hopping around, jumping around, where say my generation or generation after mine kind of blow through stuff and let the bike just pile drive through all these bumps, or these guys kind of hop around and dance around on the track. It's a lot of fun to watch. I surely appreciate it because it's so hard to do that. In my day, I would feel like, man, it'd be hard to turn a fast lap by doing that because you have to let off and time things, but that's really not the case, and I surely appreciate their craft.
Yeah, talking to Doug Henry, one of the legends of Southwick and a former champion in this class last night, he said, yeah, when I raced, it was just hit everything as hard as you could, and I look back. He said he won't even watch videos of himself now. He'll maybe look at photos, but he's so embarrassed with where his technique was or really wasn't compared to today's guys.
And you see, like, you felt like you were on the edge, which, heck, you were. Heck, I was on the edge, you know, but it's just like, then I look at the video, to Doug's point, and it's like, man, it's embarrassing. Look how slow we're going.
Okay.
But it's not about us. It's about these guys.
Right.
I hate talking about, like, well, in my day, this.
Well, you're only taking digs at yourself, so we're taking a little edge off.
For sure. I ain't scared to throw shade at myself.
There you go.
Sure.
Okay, so clearly Jet's not putting in a heater lap here early in this qualifying session, but his time, 2:09.1, is the one to beat from earlier today as he tries to rebuild his championship quest. Hey, to have a DNF and only be 7 points down, that's really not that bad.
Well, he made a lot of great work early on in the series, first half of the series, yes, and then unfortunately with that DNF last week, he lost 26 points, but that's what's nice about having a decent points gap. You bid yourself a little insurance.
Now, you talked about riders getting between. Certainly, Shimoda here is one of the factors. But there's other riders. Justin Cooper was second quickest in the first session. Been an up-and-down season. We really don't know what to expect from Cooper week in and week out. Sometimes we see his old podium pace. Sometimes we don't. Well, Michael Mosiman, a couple other guys.
And we talked about this. I feel like he's in the same boat as Joey Savatgy in the 450 class. Is, you know, he had a really bad foot injury and didn't start riding until, a month or so before the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship began. That's not a lot of time. When you think about that foot injury, I mean, how much you rely on your foot and the vulnerability of your foot and where it's at. It's really close to the ground. You can snag it. You can dab your foot on the ground, smack it on the ground, and re-injure that thing. So I feel like there's a subconscious part of him that, he's riding maybe not 100%, and he's being a little more cautious than what he rather would, which is totally understandable.
Yeah, and also when you talk about Savatgy with the ACL injury, it's not just the injury, but you're not training. You're not riding when you have, I mean, his foot was destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, similar thing. He was non-weight bearing for a while, had pins and rods and all that fun stuff in there.
Jeez.
And to be able to, like, you can't do anything. So you just lose some of your fitness. It's crazy. Everyone always talks about it. It's amazing, how long it takes you to get in great shape, but how quick you lose it. And it rings true every time.
It's cruel the way that works.
Oh, it is. It's not fair.
Voland has the top time right now. They're just starting to come across the line and give us some. There it is, 2:15.5. So we're starting to get some times in right now. Styles Robertson third last week on the podium, was consistent in both motos. That was a big breakthrough for him. He is second fastest right now, but this is 6 seconds off where we were earlier today.
Well, and I say at this point, I think you're just going for who's going to be fastest in this particular section. But if I was advising these riders, I would say be paying attention to how your bike is performing in these conditions, because like in the last 450 practice, this is as close to the race rather than actually being in the actual race that your bike is going to perform. So it's going to be very important for these riders, these young guys, to really assess their machine and how it's working and what it needs to do better, or if it needs to do anything better at all. You can go and relate that back to the team.
Voland, like I said, on top right now. Voland on the Red Bull KTM was 7th quickest in the first session as we watch Shimoda slice up this much rougher Southwick track. And by the way, the 450's riding first today, so the 250s are going to get the worst of it as far as the rough goes. There is Jet, and he just clocked in at 2:12. So on top like he was in the first session. That's Masterpool going by. Great story there at Masterpool, by the way. He was battling for a podium last week on a full privateer ride. There he is.
6th overall. Put in a pair of 8s.
He was riding for the AEO Power Sports KTM team. They parted ways. He tried to buy a new motorcycle. You can't find new motorcycles. So he bought 2 used bikes. One a practice bike, one a race bike. Yes, he almost podiumed last week on a used motorcycle. And he felt that his engine at home was working better than his one at the race. So they flew to the race this week with the practice bike motor, put it in. Just putting it all together. Basically, his dad and his brother as his mechanic. No graphics on the bike. He had a graphics company reach out, his dad told him, and they said, well, we don't even know what we put on there, so don't worry about it. What a story with Ty.
Yeah, incredible story. He got a great start and capitalized on his start. Rode well, run up front, nearly over half the moto.
He is 10th quickest right now, but he's putting in a heater, so we'll see if he can move a little bit further forward. Ty said he threw up between the motos last week with that because he inhaled so much sand. Have you had that situation? I mean, here you're going to be eating a ton.
Yeah, and luckily I haven't. Sand didn't make me nauseous, and I didn't throw up because of it.
But you swallowed some, I'm sure.
I have inhaled my fair share of sand here at Southwick throughout the years.
Yeah, so he might be dealing with that again here today. He is hauling right now.
He's going for it. He's got 2 more corners. Now, this section right here gets so rough. Look at all these bumps. There's basically no smooth shot through that long straightaway right there at all. And it's going to continue to get rougher and rougher, more physically demanding. What's he going to clock right here?
He was 10th. Let's see if he moves up.
Oh,
he does.
He does.
6th quickest. So Ty making look like last week's no fluke. He's had great performances at Redbud before. Let's see if he can carry it to Southwick. We see Hunter Lawrence come across. He clocks in 2nd fastest. But look at this gap. Almost 2.5 seconds between Jet Lawrence and everyone else. There he is. Wow, that was nice.
Getting after it. So smooth. Love watching Jet race or ride. The line choice that he takes. Very light on the bike, hopping around, very crafty.
I want to ask you about Shimoda. Told me Shimoda was fastly qualifying last week, and that's normally not good. Qualifying is not Joe's strength. I asked him why. He said, I send it too much. I bury it too much. I almost wash the front. Yeah. So talk about almost slowing down a little bit.
Yep. So what happens is, like right there, Jet goes into the corner, and he didn't get stopped in time. So when you come into the corner too much, you bury your bike into the corner, right? You get high, you get deep into that sand, and when you do that, it slows the bike down. It kind of robs your speed away. Like, you know, I go back to walking on the sand. If you walk in the deep sand, you get closer to where the water is, and the sand's a little more packed down. You're kind of like on top of the sand, and you're not sinking down. It doesn't rob your speed away from trying to walk fast. Very similar to on a motorcycle. If you're going through a corner and you just really sink into that sand, you don't stay light on the motorcycle, it robs your speed away.
Yeah, so the temptation is just go harder.
Oh, yeah, you want to, and it's inviting. You see these big old fluffy sand berms, you're like, oh, I just want to hit this thing so fast. And when you do, most of the time it doesn't work out.
Beta drone cam showing us this section here, super rough. And John Dowd, one of the legends of this track, who helps build the track now, purposely put in some extra rollers in that sweeper to make it extra rough.
Knowing Dowdy, he probably doesn't want to touch this track the rest of the day.
Oh, yeah.
Let it continue to get old Southwick style, rougher and rougher and rougher, to where you just kind of, you know, tiptoeing around there, and only the strong survive. So going to be interesting to see how much track work they do to it. Now, they'll make it safe in areas, which I totally agree with, but I feel like in a lot of areas you need to keep this track rough, and this is what it's known for.
Shimoda, oh, now Cooper checking in. Shimoda was second, but Cooper up to second on the board. He was second in the first session as well. Hunter Lawrence fourth quickest, Volan fifth. 3.5 minutes to go. There is Cooper. He likes this track, did ride this track a bit when he was growing up because he's a New York native. So we'll see if he can get back to that typical podium real estate today in the Monster Star Yamaha. Go back to Jet, who has the time. Man, he just lowered his time. So they finally got into the 212s, and he went into the 211s.
Well, he did. And if you think about it, too, he got caught up, made that mistake, and still turned.
That's right.
Still turned in a quick lap.
Well, he did that for us. We were talking about slamming these berms, and he very nicely timed that to show us what we meant. Thanks, Jet.
Look at him just hopping around, staying really light on the motorcycle, not pushing the motorcycle into those deep sand berms, keeping that momentum up, trying to roll through there with the least amount of resistance as possible. He buried it there, just a tad. Look at, I like what Joe's doing now. He's going to try to catch a toe from Jet Lawrence, which is very it's really insightful right now. So he's able to get a judge on what Jet is doing. Jet's on a fast lap, so he's not really, I wouldn't say he's altering his line so Joe doesn't see, but Joe will be able to learn from Jet right here and apply that to the motos.
It's the ETS Racing Fuels drone cam. Yeah, we get to see how it works.
Great view right here on the drone cam, seeing the different lines. See Jet just slowly inching away.
This might be the roughest section here as they come down here.
I'm going to tell you, Jason, this part right here is so brutal. You can see all those braking bumps. Look at the gap.
Wow.
That Jet has put on Joe. Just Joe surrenders. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, he wanted to learn from him, but
he couldn't even keep close.
No, and the times reflect it. Jet is 0.6 quicker than anyone else.
Yep.
Cooper second.
A little quicker that lap.
Jeez.
Almost into the 210s.
So he did lose a bunch of points last week, but he also dominated Moto 2. He was fastest in Session 1. He's fastest by almost a second and a half here in Session 2. So vengeance on the mind for your former series points leader and your defending champ. So watch Shimoda go back at it with this Southwick track.
Well, you talk about bike preservation and how demanding this track is, not only physically but mechanically for these motorcycles. And it's nice if you're a guy like Jet Lawrence or some of these riders, if they're able to get a big lead, then they can kind of ease off the throttle just a little bit, not completely hammer it, and save that engine, you know, to make it withstand the whole moto. Keep the engine heat down to a minimal. All those little things add up.
Yeah, especially on this track, man. It's going to put a load on these bikes.
It is.
Times are shuffling. Nick Romano, one of the rookies, moving up to the third fastest. There you go.
Love seeing the rookies get up there and mix it up. Always waiting to see their true potential and when they're going to basically come out of their shell and make that next step.
Michael Bozeman, who led a lot of laps here the first moto a year ago, but only 9th quickest on track right now. It looks like they're doing some adjustments. He's on the Chorley Designs Red Bull Gas. So continue to watch Shimoda circulate here. Time has expired, so I don't know if anyone's going to have an answer for Jet in qualifying today.
Joe's going for it, but he needed to make up a lot of time.
Giving these guys something to think about when they go back to the truck when Jet's putting this kind of time on them?
Yeah, I think if you're Joe, having that chance to follow Jet for half the track, you kind of have an idea of where you need to go faster. And if you weren't able to go his speed because of your bike, well, you go to make that adjustment. You tell your suspension technicians, engine technicians, whatever it might be, tell them, like, hey, this is what I need to be able to keep pace with Jet. And if you can't, just because Jet is going too fast, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Just go out there and do your best as you always do.
Okay, so there's Jet. Checkered flag will be out now as qualifying has expired. What we call the Wick 338, although most fans just call it Southwick. That's the name of the town here. And there is the checkers. And I seriously doubt that anyone is going to knock Jet Lawrence's 2:11.0 off the top of the charts. Times are shuffling behind that. Hampshire with a late run up to 3rd. You know, he's a sand specialist coming out of Florida on the Rockstar Husqvarna. But boy, has Jet Lawrence made a statement this morning. Fastest in both sessions by a big gap, almost a second and a half over anyone here in the very rough session number 2.
The 50th anniversary season of Pro Motocross is brought to you by Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source. Honda, celebrating 50 years of off-road dominance. And by Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive.
So that's it for qualifying in our seeded 250 division. There's a couple poor souls in the B group of 250s that are going to have to go out on a track that's even rougher now for their final qualifying session of the day. It's just one of the things at Southwick, how much this track changes as the day goes on. And no matter what changes it made between session 1 and session 2, it didn't affect Jet Lawrence because he topped both practice groups today in the 250 class. Can he get that points lead back this afternoon? Certainly it is in play. Let's send it down to Will on the podium.
Thanks so much, Jason. Yes, and it did not seem to make too much difference to you, Jet, that this track was getting pretty torn up out there. A second and a half between you and the rest of the field. So talk to me about that. Is that like a big confidence boost here, knowing that you can handle that late in the motos? And what's the key to it?
Doesn't make too much of a difference for me, to be honest. But the biggest difference out there is just trying to carry momentum, especially on this 250. Momentum is your best friend out there, so I think that's going to be the biggest key. So hopefully I can just keep that momentum up in the moto and just get a flow where I don't have to use so much energy. So yeah, hopefully we get a good start and hopefully we get that points lead, but we'll see.
Eyes on the prize. Thanks so much, Jet. Best of luck today.
He wants it all back in one fell swoop, RC.
He does. He's got 6 more races to do it, so no need to get in a hurry, but I appreciate his ambition.
Yep. He's got to go through his own brother, though, to get that red plate back. It's been really fun to watch them battle, and they're still keeping it cordial, still keeping it relaxed and friendly. You never know if this goes down to the wire, how things might change, but definitely a different look than the typical out for blood battle, because it is blood between them here. A little bit different story. If you want to watch the races today, our first moto of the day is our 450 class, and it starts at 1:30 instead of the traditional 1 o'clock. That's live on NBC, or you can watch that on Peacock. And then the rest of our motos, 3 straight hours, starting at 2:30, will run on MAV TV, MAV TV Plus, and Flow Racing. And we'll have our MAV TV Inside Pro Motocross review wrap-up from Southwick Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. Really going to be exciting. Points just 7 between the leaders in both classes, and a track that has led to so much, both the thrill of victory and, yeah, occasionally the agony of defeat. This one can take it all away in a hurry. That's it for our practice show. For Will, Kristen, and Ricky Carmichael, I'm Jason Wygant. We'll see you this afternoon on NBC at 1:30.